Continuing on with our navigation bar. So I've got my buttons for my navigation bar, but I don't have any styling around it, and they're not across the page. So those are the two things I have to now code and style. So I'm in my source code page right now. So in order to style it, I need to go to my CSS page. So I'll go in here. So I've named so this section of this navigation bar is called navigation. So in my style code, I have to reference to that section so that my style sheet understands it. So that's going to be dot navigation because that's what I've called it. And I'm going to style the unordered list, so it's UL. And then we put in the squiggly brackets. And it gives me the ending squiggly bracket there, which I'm just going to add a couple of lines just so that I can see what I'm doing. So here I'm going to style my unordered list. So a good easy way to do that, I'll put my cursor where I want my style code to go, and I'm going to go up to Window, Extract, back to my extraction page, because here is where I have my navigation bar. So this is what I'm going to extract, is the CSS that I've already done in my Photoshop wireframe. So I go to the layers panel. So up here you've got styles and layers, and in the layers I find the layer that has my navigation bar, which I've named in Photoshop. So that's why it's important to name it while you're working in Photoshop on the wireframe. So here I highlight that, and this box pops up because this is highlighted, my wireframe, my navigation bar in the wireframe. So I'm just going to click on select all because I can just copy the CSS, and I'll click to copy it to my clipboard, go back to my style sheet in Dreamweaver, and just paste it there. Okay, so it hasn't refreshed yet, so I'll just refresh it. And so what pops up is my navigation bar here that I had in that gray. Now, if it doesn't quite fit right, or I can change that by tweaking the code, but that's essentially there. And I've got these extra lines in here which don't matter, so I'm just going to go after that squiggly line, which is the ending squiggly line to this section of code. So that's what that is. So my next challenge now is to make these buttons all on a straight line rather than vertical. So I have to code that as well. So I'm going to reference again the section navigation of my unordered list, and it's going to affect also the list items, which is these points. And the reason I know how to do that is because I've already researched. If I didn't know how to do it, I've done the research by checking on the web on W3 Schools, or just doing a Google search on how to create a navigation bar. And so I've seen what the code is supposed to look like. And squiggly brackets again, enter, 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 just so that I can see what I'm doing. So in here, I'm going to style this so that it's all in line. So again, I've done my research and I know what it is that I have to do to make it in line. So it's display colon, because that's the way it's written, and then inline block. So it pops up here, different kinds, and this would be a semicolon at the end. So if you're coding stuff and you forget the colon here and you forget the semicolon there, the code won't work. So if you miss a bracket or a colon, something's not going to work. Okay, so I'm going to refresh that. So you see now it's all in line just by doing that. My next challenge now is I don't want it all squished up on the left side. I want to have some space in between. So I need to add some padding. Let's see. Padding. I'm just going to play around because I haven't really figured out which ones. And then a semicolon at the end. So if I just pick inherit, I can see what that does here. If I want to put a pixel amount there, I could also put in, I don't know, let's try 20 pixels. Let's see what that happens. Okay, that comes down a bit because there's different types of padding. So maybe let's do 30 padding. Oh, I should do padding right. Let's see. Let's see what happens when we do. And sometimes it's trial and error to see what works and how it works. So that goes back up. Okay. I think I like it better with just padding. And I'll put it back down to inherit. Okay, well, we could play around with it to kind of either center it or put, like, say, padding on the top. I don't know, 20 pixels, semicolon. See what happens there. So that kind of moves it around. I can also change my padding of my navigation bar itself, right? So say I want the height to be 53 pixels instead of 43. So I can just make it wider. So I can kind of adjust things to how I like it and move things around. So that's essentially how I can do that. If I want to change the font size here, so that's the width of the bar, and this, so font, I can change the font family, which is the type of text. So I can pick, I don't know, Liberation sans serif. I don't know what that one looks like, but let's try it. I don't think that's working so well. So, or font size, maybe that. Let's see what happens. So you see, by typing in font size, 20 pixels, it comes bigger. If I want it even bigger, I can maybe add it to 30 pixels and then just add more space around it whenever I need. And that's how I just play around with my navigation bar to kind of make it look the way I like.